program and how the participants are nominated for this program. So let me just first of all remind you of some requirements and eligibility and application requirements for the teachers. So first of all, of course, you need to be an English language professional and you need to be a citizen of Kazakhstan. You should also need to make sure that you will be able to spend around 8-10 hours per week to devote to this course, because it is a pretty rigorous course, and you need to finish the assigned work and assignments and participate in online discussions every week. And you need to have regular access to a reliable internet-enabled device, and obviously have a very good command of English, especially English technical terms. You should also have basic technology skills related to, for example, creating usernames, passwords, using email, searching the internet, etc. Because based on the experience, some participants did have these issues, and it is not really a good sign if participants do not participate due to these reasons. So please make sure that you are an eligible candidate, and all the description of the program and details will be updated on our website soon. And we will announce the call for applications next week already for the fall term. And we have a limited number of slots for Kazakhstan, but still please do apply, as we are looking for the teachers around Kazakhstan who are happy and eager to learn and share their experience afterwards. And here on the slide, you can also see that once you apply and send an email to us at reloNursultan@state.gov with the subject line call application for the open program. We'll send you the application form and the details of the program, and once you fill it in and submit it by the given deadline, we will then review all the applications and nominate most eligible participants. And you will then receive some emails from the open course team, and you will need to register for this course and undergo the orientation course, and then you will be actively participating in the open course by finishing the work assigned, and of course being exposed to the English language materials and instruction and some new insights in this field. Once you complete this course, then we encourage teachers to share their experience with their colleagues, and once they send us a report on how they were able to do that, and you can do it in any preferable way, then you will be awarded an electronic certificate from our office. So please do apply for this program. Do check our website and social media platforms. The application will be available soon, and the call for application will be announced through our social networks as well. And please do not be afraid of this new name, the Online Professional English Network Program, Open. It is the same e-teacher program which used to be in the past. It's just now it's been rebranded. So I think that is the main new thing about this course. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us, to send us an email, and we're happy to assist and answer your questions. Thank you very much. And I believe the next presenter.
Yes, I just would like to draw attention of our people to the chat, where some information regarding this program and some others is given. And they have, thank you, Ben, you provide step-by-step instruction about the subject matter if somebody emails to the RELO email, some others. So please follow us on the chat. Thank you so much. Okay, and now let's move to the next slide relates, and next information relates to update 3 TESOL convention. I see what's going on with the TESOL.
Hi everyone,
Am
it's
I right?
Sam speaking. Yes, I hope you can hear me. Hi everyone, I just wanted to draw your attention that probably a lot of you have already heard about the TESOL, the conference, the international conference, which usually takes place in US. But this year again, due to this COVID situation that we have, and again because of this lots of travel restrictions that happened, TESOL was cancelled. I mean, the in-person TESOL was cancelled, which is kind of historical thing that happened in like English language educational field. But just again, one more historical thing that just came, it's that the instead of this in-person TESOL, the TESOL team decided to bring the for the first time ever the virtual TESOL. For the virtual TESOL, since we would like to give this opportunity to the teachers of the Central Asia and of the Kazakhstan to participate for free. Just for your information, the ticket for the person costs about $140, but we can give you 10 tickets for free. But there is one, I mean, there's some task we'd like you to complete. If you could look at the at your displays on the screen, you can see that so there are 10 winners we are expecting. It's going to be 5-day contest, and the first day of the contest started just yesterday. Today is the second day of the contest. We've already given 2 tickets for 2 teachers. One is teachers from Kazakhstan, and the second teacher is from Kyrgyzstan. So if you'd like to again attend this TESOL and attend it for free, and of course to share some of your experience and expertise with other colleagues from the Central Asia, please, there are some things you should do. So first of all, you need to follow the link which is given in blue. Number 1, you should follow us on Facebook, which calls RELO Central Asia in Kazakhstan. Then you need, now let me just open my screen if I'll be able to do that. So I'm sorry, but just a moment. No, I'm not able to demonstrate my screen, but still I'd like to open it on my phone just to show you what to do. So what you need to do is, can you see me? Can you see my phone here? Can you see my phone? It's here.
Well, it's actually blurred. Asim, shall I share the screen with you?
No, I'm okay. I think no, I'm okay. I think so. What you need is, if you could just once you get this presentation, please follow the link in blue. Just follow us on Facebook. Find this very picture that you can see on the screen and read the rules very carefully and follow the rules, please, and you'll get a chance to win the ticket for free. Again, just to remind you, we only have 8 remaining tickets, only 8, because 2 of them they're already given. And again, it's not only Kazakhstan participating, but for 4 Central Asia countries, which lessens your chances to win the ticket. So please be active, spread the word out, follow us again. And I do promise that this is not the last one conference that we are bringing up. So please be active there. And so thank you so much. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Yes, I guess, well, people got interested since, well, the seats are remaining less and less. So grab your opportunity and take part in this historical event. Well, since it's the first time, well, they run this virtual convention. So, well, first come, first served. So will you follow this very remote people? Okay, thank you. And well, I guess there are some updates about summer online course. Yeah, and Olga, you're very, very welcome to introduce them.
Thank you, Tatiana. Let me also very briefly, because as I can see, we have today new participants. I'm not sure that they took part in our presentation 2 weeks ago. So very briefly, I just want to tell you that our office, Regional English Language Office, works with English language teachers, not only in Kazakhstan, but in Central Asia. And our main goal to develop the professional skills of English language teachers. And 2 weeks ago, we introduced all our programs. And in case you didn't participate that time, probably it's worth asking Tatiana to send you the info sheet we sent 2 weeks ago, or you can directly ask us about the information you probably missed, unfortunately, 2 weeks ago. So 2 weeks ago, I mentioned that our Office of English Language Programs in Washington will offer additional online courses in summer and fall. At that time, we didn't know exactly which courses will be approved and which courses we will get slots in. So now we know this information, and we know that for summer term, again, as for exact dates, I'm not sure at the moment. We suppose that they will, these 2 courses will start on July 15th, but it will be confirmed. And this information will be on our website and social media and RELO Facebook page, RELO Central Asia Facebook page. But as for now, we know that 2 courses, such as supporting English language learners with exceptional needs and TESOL training for trainers, will be offered. So if you're interested in these courses, please let us know and send us a request or email to our RELO Nursultan at state.gov address. It's indicated on the slide. You can put a subject line, additional online courses, to let us just see that you're interested exactly in this topic. So let me very briefly remind you that supporting English language learners with exceptional needs, this course provides an overview of important issues facing educational professionals, particularly English to speakers of other languages and English as a foreign language teachers, in supported English learners with disabilities. So if you work with English language learners who have some disabilities, and want to improve your ways of working with them, of engaging them into the lesson, into education process, I think this course is for you and you can apply for this. Of course, we have limited number of slots, but still your request can be considered and it will be a competition. As for TESOL training for trainers, again, if you're a teacher trainer or you would like to work with teachers, you feel that you can share your experience, I suppose this course is for you. Again, if you're interested, reach out to us at RELO Nursultan at state.gov. Thank you very much. Again, if you have any questions, ask us or Tatiana. She can also write to us directly or forward our messages to you.
Вот именно, вылетевший из Республики Казахстан.
Okay.
Let me introduce our English language coordinator, Benjamin Taylor, and give him the floor. Thank you.
Yes, and again, before we move to Ben, well, I draw attention to the chat and to some comments made by Ben. Well, all the information that is given on the slides, so I'm speaking about the links, well, is presented on the group chat. So please, well, follow these links if you need additional information or you would like, well, to follow this information immediately. Thank you. And now, Ben, well, let me stop this demonstration, yeah? And we'll move to, you're very welcome to share the screen and be prepared
Wonderful.
with the presentation, reading and writing strategies.
That's right. That's right. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you again. Those of you who maybe
weren't in our last session together, good to see you for the first time. But I know some of you were here last time, so welcome back. It's very good to see you again. I'll just introduce myself very briefly. If you don't know me, my name is Ben Taylor. I am the English language coordinator, or I'm an English language coordinator with the RELO team here in Nur Sultan. My email address is actually on this presentation here. So you will get a copy of this PowerPoint later. But if you have any questions about it that maybe you don't think of right now, but you think of later, you're welcome to email me, okay? So I've actually got a lot to cover, and so I'm going to just kind of move along here. But as you see, we're going to be working with reading and writing tools, okay? So last time I gave kind of a general overview, and that session was recorded. It's available for you to look at, but a general overview of different tools we could use for online learning and teaching, just generally. And then I thought, okay, what can I do? So I'm going to take a specific part of teaching, a specific field of teaching, maybe the teaching of reading and writing, and talk a little bit more specifically about what I like to do there. I have a lot of experience in writing classes especially, and so I've been really looking forward to doing this class with you. Rakmiet to Tatiana and to Kazti for allowing us the space to be here. Okay, so what we're going to do, you see here, I'm going to check in a little bit on where we're at with reading and writing classes, okay, and where you're at with doing reading and writing classes online. And then I'm going to get into some specific tools, reading tools, and I'll be talking a little bit, I talked last time about VOA Learning English. I'll be talking about that again, but in a more specific way, actually just for the teaching of reading. Okay, then I'll go into readability tools and fan fiction, okay? Then with writing tools, I'll probably take a little bit more time. My recommendation to you, we could use the chat function, because I will be asking you to do a little bit of writing today. But if you prefer, instead of writing on your computer, or if you're using a phone to log in right now, just a piece of paper or a notepad or something to write on would be fine. Okay, but if you don't have that around you, maybe see if you can find something to write on and something to write with around you, because we're going to do a little bit with that. I'm also going to teach how we can make rubrics, which is a nice way to assess spoken and written work. And so I've got a pretty nice, convenient way to do that. Before I get into any of that, Asim and I had the same idea. I just want to kind of quickly reiterate or return to some of what Asim was talking about. So as she mentioned, we are on the second day of a 5-day contest. So this will be happening through Saturday. Saturday will be our last day of new materials. Every day I'm presenting some new resource from the American English at State website, which is an excellent website if you've never been there. And so again, you're strongly recommended to add us on Facebook, okay? You can follow our page. There's the link right there, facebook.com, RELO Central Asia. And again, 2 people a day, including tonight, I'll announce 2 winners, are going to have access to the TESOL 2020 virtual convention. As you see, it's a 3-day event. This is actually a very big deal. And as Asim was right to mention, this is the first time TESOL has ever done this virtually before. It is specifically a response to COVID-19, okay? So it's a big deal. There's 100 different speakers, over 100 different speakers. There will be different major educational organizations offering demos and free materials. And it's a great networking opportunity if you're looking for people to collaborate with in the future. So if you're interested in this at all, you can find more information at our Facebook page, and you're welcome to leave a comment under the post if you have any questions. Okay, I just kind of wanted to quickly return to that. All right. So next, checking in before we move too much further. And feel free to just write in the chat if you have anything. I know that we are now in the summer months, and so a lot of our teachers may actually not be in classrooms right now. But for the last couple of months, you were teaching. You might have been doing it online. You probably were. And so I guess my first question is, what have you done lately in online reading and writing sessions? And then a similar question, or maybe a follow-up question, what are your favorite resources and tools for these activities? So I'm just going to give a little bit of time. I like to give wait time for you to think about this. I'll probably give you about 10 seconds here, and I'll see if anyone has anything they'd like to add in the comments. Okay, I'm going to go check out our chat and see what we've got. All right.
People, you are very welcome to use chat. So, well, Ben addressed the question.
Yep, there is, thank you, Tatiana. There's no right answer here, okay? Any answer you have is the right answer. I'm just interested in what you've been using to engage your students in reading and writing activities online. If you haven't been using anything, okay, Padlet, someone uses Padlet. I also really like Padlet. In fact, I made a Padlet for today's session, and I'll be showing you that. I can show you that right now. I'm not hiding it from you, I suppose. So here, this is what Padlet looks like if you've not used it before. I want to say the name was Irina. I might have messed that up. But one of our participants today mentioned Padlet just now. It's a great website that we can use, nice tool to add features. It's very user-friendly. I can just make a little, go down to this pink circle and I can contribute something. And so here I've got all the materials that we're making for today, okay? The PowerPoint and all the links we'll be looking at, including some we actually won't look at today that I just think are useful for later, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and put this website in our chat, and I'll see if anybody else has stuff. Great. Okay, lots of good stuff. Okay, newspaper articles. Great. I agree. Podcasts. That's cool. Podcasts, I think we usually think of for listening or speaking activities, but it is true. You could use them for reading or writing. I'd be interested in how you do that, Gulnara. But I definitely have heard of people doing that. I think that's great. Asaljan says we could use Write and Improve. I'm not sure I'm familiar with that material, but that sounds like an interesting program. American English is a great website. We actually won't be talking about it too terribly much today, but I do like it a lot, and I've definitely talked about it in the past. And it's the focus of our contest. Miro, I'm not familiar with, but it sounds very interesting as well. Okay, so, okay, good. So we've kind of got our thoughts going here. And so I'm going to share with you just a few of the things that I like to use, okay? I'll be going back and forth between this PowerPoint presentation and some web resources that I've got prepared for us, okay? See what the chat, now see, unfortunately, I cannot see the chat when my PowerPoint is fully on. So I'm gonna have to see, oh, Voice of America, great, yeah, good one. Okay, all right, so the first thing I want to talk about is reading tools, okay? And why would we want, what do we want, I guess, with reading? So the most important thing with reading is that we want to go, I had a teacher explain this very, very eloquently to me the other day. We want to go from being the source of knowledge to being a facilitator for students' autonomous learning. We want our students to actually select their own material and to find their own interests. This is like the true goal. I think it should be the true goal as teachers, and it's certainly the best goal for us to aim for as online teachers, okay? And so what we're gonna look at here, we'll go to the VOA Learning English page, okay, and also actually the main VOA page. We can look at both of those. But we wanna think about student background knowledge, how to do self-selection, how to maintain ideas and change vocabulary. Okay, so VOA Learning English, I talked about this last time. Again, I'm gonna show us just specifically a page that I think is quite interesting on the website. But this is great, somebody said newspapers are good. And so news articles that are made for language learners, a really good thing on here. I'm just gonna go ahead and take us there now, okay? So if I go, let me see where it is. Here we go. I've got an article here that I've already set up. Okay, this is on VOA Learning English. And again, this is on that, this is on the Padlet, okay? So here I've got IBM ends facial recognition, questions police use of technology. These are brand new articles. You can see the date here. And we talked about this last time, but for self-selection, this is wonderful because we've actually got a range of different topics. Science and technology is just one of them. Arts and entertainment is on there. There's kind of a miscellaneous section. There's news and politics. This one sort of ties into politics. I'm sure you've noticed there are major protests and demonstrations happening in the United States right now, centered largely on our use of police. And so this article is connected to that. It's a very topical article in America. So here, I've got a downloadable audio, right?
As IBM has ended its facial recognition.
Okay, and so I've got that. I've got pre-identified vocabulary, which is really nice. And again, we talked about this pretty much exactly this last time, but I'm going to show you how we can take this further, right? So I've got pre-identified vocabulary. There's a quiz down here so students can actually test themselves, and then use of vocabulary definitions down here, which is nice, okay? So that's all very good. But maybe your students want, or your students are still struggling. This is even with the pre-identified words, this is still too difficult for them. It's possible, right? Or maybe they're getting their news from the actual, not Learning English page, but the main VOA News page. This page has much more challenging language. This is actually for a native speaking audience, although certainly our students could enjoy it as well. Okay, so again, police is a major, major thing in America. Black Lives Matter. There's a lot of stuff in the news right now. And so this article might be of great interest to our students, but it has much harder language, right? So what can we do? I'm going to show you what we can do. We can take either of those articles and use something called a readability app. There are more readability apps than I will share with you today. I'm just going to give you 2 examples of what these are. These come from a larger MOOC on teaching educational, online educational tools so that you can use them in online learning, right? Okay, so readable.com and the readability test tool. How would I use these? Okay, I can take a text. So here I've got a text, and I can go to readability test tool. Here I can actually put in the URL. So I'm just going to take the website. I'm going to take the URL. I'm copying it. And I'm going to paste this here. And what this will do is it'll tell me the grade level expectation for my students. So here we see we're at about a 7.3. This is for kind of a 7th grade native English speaking audience. Okay, we're probably talking about an intermediate level of English, maybe pre-intermediate. Okay, you see how many words are there, how many sentences, how many complex words. Okay, so if this looks too difficult for our students, we could actually work on it. And how would we work on it? Well, that's what this other tool is good for. So here, let me go back so I can show you what this looks like. Well, okay. If I click on our website, it actually takes us to a different web page, slightly different looking, and I wanted to show you exactly. So I'm just going to go there. There we go. Okay, so this is what we'll end up seeing. Okay, and here you can notice this is actually a paid version. Okay, there's a paid version, but the free version is pretty good. So here I can click on Test Your Readability, and I can put in a text. Now, to put in this text, I have to copy the text pretty much. The whole text here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just grab some of this. I won't grab everything, but I just want to show you what this can look like. Okay, I'll take the first couple of paragraphs. We go to the readability tool. I'll paste it. There we go. And this will show us. Tatiana, could I get you to mute everybody, please? Oh, great. Thank you. Make sure I'm not good. I'm not muted. Wonderful. Okay, so we can see what some of the challenges as identified by this readability tool are. This is a very long sentence. So then I would ask myself, how could I simplify it? if I want to, now this takes a lot of work. I don't want to act like this is an easy thing to do. It's certainly a time-consuming thing, but we could sit there and actually try to simplify this for our students, okay? Right, so here I've taken a longer sentence and I've made it shorter, okay? So that's one thing I can do. I can also see words that might be difficult that aren't actually identified in the website itself. So here, individuals, it's kind of a difficult word. And so I would maybe want to find an alternative, people, right? Or something like that. So it's up to you, and it's up to what your students need. But this might be something that we would benefit from, okay? It's even more useful when we're using one of these harder articles. So here, I'm just gonna go ahead, right? Okay, now here we can see what some of the really big words are, right? Congressional, it's a very long sentence. We might wanna rewrite it, okay? Discrimination. And so if a sentence or if an entire article is too difficult for you or for your students, it might be a good thing to take a small chunk of it and then try to rewrite that using one of these readability tools, okay? So I would combine Voice of America, Learning English, or even the proper Voice of America site, depending on my students, okay? And then I would actually change it to adapt to their level of ability, okay? So that's the first tool I would use, these readability tools. Again, these are available on our webpage, okay? So I can share the link to that later. Again, I've already shared it once, but I'm happy to share it again later. This here, fan fiction, is kind of a bridge between reading tool or reading activity and writing activity, okay? So what fan fiction is, a fan is somebody that's a shortened version of the word fanatic. And so this is somebody who's really enjoys something. We could be a fan of music, a fan of a certain TV show, or a fan of a certain book, just as an example, okay? And so this can be a good grammar exercise. It's a good vocabulary exercise. And it can be done using any kind of writing as a basis, okay? So as an example, let's say I wanted to take a text like Sherlock Holmes, which is available on the American English at State website. I would have my students read a story, and we would identify together some of the vocabulary which is common in that story. And then the students would have to maybe change the ending using some of the same language, okay? Or they could write a letter to Sherlock using some of the same language. This is a very fun activity that also gets at the idea of targeting the work that our students are working on in class as readers in a writing setting. So I've just got 3 short ideas that we could use with fan fiction. So this is the first one. I know I've talked about this to several people in the room before, but the first idea, you could write a story, rewrite it through the villain's eyes, okay? So a classic story that I've been doing this a lot with my son is 5 years old. We've been looking a lot at the 3 little pigs. Now, if you don't know this story, there are 3 little pigs that build houses. One builds a house out of bricks, one builds a house out of sticks, and one builds a house out of straw, or like grass, I guess you could say. And a big bad wolf comes, and the wolf is definitely the villain. And he attacks the pigs. And there's this whole story that goes with it, but I don't want to spoil it for you, but the pig in the brick house, he ends up doing okay, and the other pigs don't, okay? So what this activity would require is that our students read a short story like that. I actually find that children's stories are a great tool for this. I've used Kolobok before as well. And then actually write the story again, but from the perspective of the villain or the bad guy, okay? This can be done as a writing activity. There could be a speaking and listening element as well, or a reading element if we actually share stories with another person, okay? And then maybe there's like some reporting back to the teacher, okay? So I've done this with writing as the fox from Kolobok. What was the fox's motivation? Well, to eat Kolobok, of course, but what else? Why? Well, maybe the fox had hungry children. We see children at the end, right? You could write as Thanos if your students are interested in movies. There's the Marvel universe of movies, the Avengers. And so there's any tool we can use. I guess one of the big lessons I want to share with you today is that writing especially, but reading too, that is more fun for students. And that again, goes back to their self-selection, is going to be something that necessarily brings with it a greater level of motivation. That is, the students will be more motivated to work if they get to choose what they're working on. Great, great, a bloom ball, that's really good. So Arjan has a really nice comment with an idea bouncing off of this. Okay, another activity. This one is actually, it's a good activity. It's kind of a therapy activity too. So this is good if your students are having arguments with each other, or if there's a disagreement, maybe between people from North Kazakhstan and South Kazakhstan in your classroom, or whatever. Any challenge, any problem. A student could identify a problem and then think of a conflict with a friend or family member and write the story briefly from that person's perspective, okay? Now, when they do this, we need to encourage. I've had students do the wrong thing before, and when they have to write from the other person's perspective, they say, well, I feel this way because I'm stupid and I don't understand what Ben wants or something. Well, that's not what we're looking for. We don't want name calling. We want genuine, honest feelings of, why would this person want something so different from me? Okay. And then once we've written what we want, we could write what the other person wants, and that will help us probably get a better understanding of that other side. So this is one reason that keeping a journal is such a healthy activity anyway, but it also becomes a really good writing activity, okay? Another thing we can do, I don't think I'm going to take the time to show you this on Facebook. I thought about it, but I have a lot of resources I want to get through here. We could take a story like Kolobok, let's say, or something like that, and we could create a page on Facebook for Kolobok. And then we could put in there, what are Kolobok's likes, right? What does Kolobok like? Singing, dancing, right? And we could put posts like, I sure hope the bear doesn't find me today, or something like that. So there's a lot of ways to do this. Facebook is a good one. People have taken characters from Shakespeare stories and written Twitter accounts where we're just writing short lines of feelings from that character. This is a great way to get into the mentality or psychology of the characters that we love so much in our stories. Okay, so fan fiction is a great way to go about this. Okay, I've got some more stuff I want to look at here. Writing tools, I'm going to be going through an entire series of lessons for our Access students, among other students, about how to write essays for admission to universities. I've got a whole page here that you're welcome to look through later. But I think what I've done here is you'll see if you go to this. Sure. Okay, Tatiana's right. We want to be careful. We don't want to create a conflict between different regions or anything like that. I certainly didn't mean to create a conflict. But if you're having a disagreement between two students in class, I think it could be a healthy activity. I've done this with students before who were disagreeing with each other, just to try to get some mutual understanding. I certainly don't mean we want to inflame or worsen any argument or disagreement. Okay, so I've shared this link. I'm not going to go into too much detail on it, but there's a link full of resources for essay writing that you're welcome to do. And I'm just going to take something from there that I really like. This is about descriptive language. And this is where I'm going to want you to do some writing as well. So descriptive language is really good for our students who need to work with, let's say, adjectives, who are maybe uncomfortable with adjectives or have a limited vocabulary and need to start thinking a little bit more, I guess we could say, out of the box or creatively about the descriptions that they're using, okay? So descriptive language is just what it sounds like. It's the stuff we use to describe things. Taste, touch, sight, smell, and sound. Now, we don't have to use all of these in a hook. Okay, we don't have to use all of these. A hook is just a piece of writing to catch someone's attention. Some might be more useful than others, but if we want to involve somebody in what we're writing, if we want to make our writing stronger, trying to connect to these senses is a good thing. And to do that, I've got one of, I think, the most popular foods in all of Kazakhstan. You guessed it, beshbarmak. So here's what I want to do. In the chat box, when you're comfortable, let's talk a little bit about some of the different senses as they connect to beshbarmak. Let me start first with this. What does beshbarmak taste like? Describe. Imagine that I have never had beshbarmak before. Tell me the taste of beshbarmak. I'm going to put up that tasty besh again. There it is. Okay, someone said it's fatty. That's a good description. That's something that I can think of. Roasted meat. Okay, so I'm starting to get a picture in my head. Meaty is good. Nice. Now, Bahor, I really appreciate your feedback here. Meaty is good. Nice is one of the words we want to get students to avoid because what's nice to me might not be nice to you, right? So a lot of times somebody will say, oh, it's delicious. Well, what does delicious mean? Maybe what's delicious to me is not what's delicious to you, right? Okay, so it tastes like nothing on earth. That's okay, Olga, but then I start to think about like eating moon rocks or something. It's not on earth, right? Okay, so rich in flavor, hearty, tender meat, delicious noodles. You guys are very good at this. I'm sorry, I know it's probably dinner time for a lot of us. Okay, so we've got the taste. Let's go for smell. Tell me about the smell of beshbarmak. What does beshbarmak smell like? I want you to imagine a dastarkhan at your house. It smells appetizing. That's good. Smells pleasant. Okay, like pleasant meat. Good. Smells like a tasty soup. Okay, so it smells kind of soupy. Soup is actually getting towards the next sense. Now I'm just going to move. I usually take longer on this, but I'm going to move quickly so I can show you this activity. What's the feel like? Now, of course, I know beshbarmak means 5 fingers, right? So I'm using my hands here. So tell me about the feeling. Someone said soup, which kind of lets me know. Nice. Now, Igul's getting there, right? Reminds me of the smell of my childhood when my granny was welcoming guests. Tender, soft, good. Someone who said soup, Gulnara said soup. I think we could say that it's wet, kind of, right? It's like nectar for bees. Oh, wow. Good. Good. Okay, oily, right? Yeah, it shouldn't be dry, we hope, right? It's kind of a wet food, right? Okay. Now we're going to get to one in a moment here that I think most people would probably think is kind of hard. Okay, it reminds you of hospitability. So we're starting to activate those ideas, right? Let's talk about what beshbarmak looks like. I don't mean the actual besh itself necessarily, although that's great. What I try to encourage my students to do is close your eyes and imagine you're sitting at whatever table or wherever you are when you have beshbarmak and give me a short description like what's there? Who's there? What do you see? Your uncle's there? Your baby brother? Like who's there? Where are you sitting? Is it a round table? A long table? Okay, there's guests there, definitely, right? Okay. Is there anything else there? Is it just beshbarmak? Okay, families around a rich table. Yeah. Okay, your whole family's there. Wonderful. Wonderful. When my wife, Menkubala, right? And so when my wife has beshbarmak with us, we often have not just beş parmak, we will have barsaki, we'll have kumus, and of course all of those could have their own descriptions as well, right? But that's kind of what we want to do. Okay, now last question, and this one gets a little bit weird, right? Okay, you're full of siblings, I like that. The last question maybe gets weird. What does beş parmak sound like? Let's see what we can do. What does beş parmak sound like? Anything. I know it's a food. It doesn't talk. It's not like a Pokemon. It doesn't say beş parmak, right? Oh, it calls you to eat it. Okay, maybe it does. Like, well, I don't know. Oh, someone Indiara wants to eat. Okay. Okay, it sounds like hospitability. When I think of the sound of beş parmak, I think of the sound of people giving toasts or short speeches, right? I think of lips smacking as people are eating, like that, right? And so splish and splash, right? Great. And so when I want to activate my students' descriptive language, this is an activity I would do. And I want to point out one more thing here. It is good to go with the things that your students have background knowledge of. And one thing that all or almost all Kazakh people have a lot of knowledge of, whether they like beş parmak or not, and I have met plenty of Kazakh people who don't like beş parmak very much, believe it or not, but it is something that we know, and we know it well. A lot of us know it from childhood. And so activating the stuff that your students already know is a great way to get them involved, okay? Then I would often give a sample text. I'm not gonna stick here for too long because I wanna give you a chance for questions, but this is a short description that I used, and I would ask students to identify language in there. And then if I wanted, this is another activity that's really fun, and I was gonna try to do this with some writing, but we're actually almost already out of time, so I'll just tell you about this. I've taken a photo. This is a surrealist picture, which means that it is not real, it is obviously imaginary. And I challenge students, I say, imagine that you are living in this picture, okay? You're inside this picture, and I want you to tell me, you could write a paragraph, you could just write sentences, but what do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you touch? What do you taste? Okay, give me those senses. These photos, not this photo exactly, but photos like this exist on the VOA Learning English page in the photo of the day section. So I take a photo like that, and then I often take, just to get my students' brains working and kind of put us in a creative mode, I like to play some music. So I've taken some copyright-free music, jazz music, I like instrumental, to get us going. All right. Okay. And what I want to point out to you is that this is about a 10-minute long video. I find that 10 minutes is a good length for most of my students to do an activity like this so that they can really get some writing out there, some creative language, and kind of practice with this material, right? And so when the song ends, the activity ends. It's a way to get them creative, but it's also like a stopwatch, right? And then we could share the writing with each other. And usually this is a great way for us to identify the descriptive language that other people are using, okay? Last activity, and then I'm gonna go to questions. I'm feeling like I'm a little bit behind here. I showed something like this before, but we could do some storytelling where I take a picture and I start a story. I would say, a long time ago, I was driving on a lonely road right before sunset, right? And then let's say I'm working on a different grammatical point. So here I might be working on time, okay? After a few hours of driving, a huge lightning storm came into view, and I was very scared, right? Okay. Equally important to the lightning storm, there seemed to be a lot of cows that were running quickly at my car. I didn't know what to do, right? So I could have students write a story using these pictures from the photo of the day section, okay? And I could actually focus on different grammatical points. Now this is on transition words, but I could use anything. I try to use a different one each time. There's no right answer. Again, self-selection, but I'm giving them these words to choose from so that they can activate and use new vocabulary, okay? Whatever our target is. Okay, 2 more tools here. One of them, Google Docs. I wanted to go to Google Docs to play with interactivity. I don't really have time for that, I don't think. And then there's also a tool called Rubistar, which is for making a rubric. And I'm just going to show you this one quickly. So give me a second here. So rubrics are really good for assessing or judging whether or not we have done a good job or not with writing and spoken work especially, but could be for other things as well. Okay, so Rubistar is on our website. It's right here. All right, and if I go here, I can actually just go to create rubric. Okay, here we go. And let's say my students are doing some writing. Maybe they're doing a research report, right? Here, then I would put my name, right? So Mr. and Taylor, okay? I want the research report. I would say, let's say, I don't know, biotechnology tools, just an example. Okay, we are international, so I'll put 99999. There we go. Okay, and I can actually enter different categories to come up with a quick scoring chart here. So let's say I'm interested in the sources that students are using. Well, this actually types up for me the different qualifiers that I could use. Now, I can add stuff if I want. Right? So whatever, okay? I can do this with as many different qualifiers as I want, okay? Different score categories. And then once I'm done, I can just create the rubric and I'll have that ready to go for my students. So that's quite convenient, okay? I think it's a really great tool. Sure, good question. So how do I create rubrics? Yep, so yeah, I'm trying to do that here. Sorry, my internet seems to be, oh, here, I plugged in the wrong one. Not my internet, my computer was dying. Okay, yeah, so let's say I'll just choose 3 so I can quickly show Golnara and anyone else who's interested what we would do. Mechanics is about spelling and grammar, right? So I would just put in grammar or mechanics here, and I could actually get those. And then here I'll choose one more category, the quality of information, okay? I could add more stuff, of course, if I wanted to, and I could change things if I needed to. But then I'll click on submit, and what this will do is it actually produces the rubric for me, okay? So now I've got it. I could actually kind of copy it. I could print it, whatever. And here, now I've got a ready-made rubric that would take almost no time at all to make. And I could actually share this with my students. I think it's really important when doing written work to let students know how they're going to be assessed. We don't want to make it a guessing game. I remember when I was a student, how terrible it was to not know how the teacher was going to score me because I didn't even know what the teacher thought was important. So I like to share this stuff beforehand. I think it's a really important thing. Okay? So that's Rubistar. And again, I just recommend playing with these tools yourself. I think it's the best way to learn about them. Okay? And that takes us to the end. So I want you to think about your students and your class context, and then ask yourself, how would you integrate any of these reading and writing tools into your next digital session? I've gone a little bit over time here, but I would love to take about 5 minutes for any questions, comments, or ideas. I'm sorry I didn't really get to cover Google Docs very much, but that's actually available on the website as well. Okay? So I'm going to stop sharing now, but I'm ready for questions. Thank you. Great. Yeah, the link to the rubrics. Sure, that's fine. Let me do that here. Sure. Just a moment. Okay. Yep. And if you want to type a question or ask a question with your microphone, I'm open to either of those. Okay.
Sorry, yeah, well, actually I commented with my voice again muted. So we'll have a look at the chat, and there is a question from Lyudmila Smirnova. She states that, well, students should be equipped with the appropriate language before being engaged in such activities. So would you agree with her comment?
Absolutely. I think anytime we do an activity like with descriptive language, let's say, I would want to share an example of the writing that I'm looking for first. I think that's a really important thing. I think with transition words, if I was going to do that, I would want to give sample sentences, maybe on the side or beforehand, giving an example of what each one of those words would look like in context. But I don't recommend, I don't say that this is what Lyudmila is suggesting. I don't think this is what she's saying. But I would say, if you are thinking this, definitely don't just give definitions of the words. Definitions are great and they're very useful, but by themselves, it's not really enough. It's better to get a word in context or a phrase in context. Yeah, great point, Lyudmila.
Yes, our teachers are accustomed, I used to use models before they ask students to write something. So to some extent it could be good, but to another, it could be harmful. What's your attitude to modeling? So to provide with models, of writing to your students.
Models of writing. So the danger, I guess I do see a danger to models, which is that we don't want our students to come so close to our model that it's basically just copying what we've done. That kind of limits their creativity. That kind of limits what they could do. So I guess what I like to do is maybe give one example and then let students kind of work from there. I like to offer models when necessary. Certainly before an assignment, I like to tell students how we're going to grade, and I like to show kind of an example of what it should look like or could look like. But I always try to encourage people to do whatever their own thing is as well. And so I think it's really important that we push into the interests and desires of the students within reason. We have to stay within the context of whatever it is we're doing in class, but I think that's really good. Okay, so I got a question. How do I take a certificate? I don't really understand that. I don't think I wasn't, there aren't any certificates to my knowledge for today's session.
Yeah, as for certificates, this question is to me. I'll give the link to the feedback form, and then later you will be counted for this or that hours attended. And going back to the models, I guess, what teachers should do and have to do is to provide with rubrics, and according to these rubrics and descriptions, so students would get the idea of what it is required, and then they will enjoy this freedom to develop their free writing. And free writing for fun, for fan, for whichever.
I think of it, just last note on models. I think of it like when we learn how to ride a bike, a lot of people get like the training wheels on the side. This is something that kind of helps us at first, right? But you don't want to have those forever. So at a certain point, we need to take those off. So I think modeling a little bit, but then offering increasingly challenging tasks once that initial information has been presented is the way to go. Yeah. Okay, do I encourage students to use full sentences when describing Beshbarmak? Yes, I encourage, I think we've talked about this before. I know a lot of us are actually familiar with this. I want to say this comes from Stephen Krashen. I encourage the I+1 model. So I is the current ability level of our students, and then the +1 is just a little bit beyond that, right? So if my students are at a place where they struggle, but they're actually able to do a complete sentence, absolutely, that's what I want. I've had students who couldn't do that, who just could give me a couple phrases. That's better than nothing, right? For a student who can definitely, with some ease, write sentences, I want more. Give me a paragraph, right? And so whatever it is, let's push beyond. And that's kind of how I would answer that question. Okay, give me just a second.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Well, I guess there is a problem with his son, but
I've got a very upset 5-year-old out there. So no, I'm back. Okay.
So this is a link to the Google form, and you're very welcome just to follow and to see if it works. And please, if it doesn't work, if something is going well, please let me know. Yeah. So any other questions to Ben? So
I'll answer any.
this form gives some ideas or questions to you. Which of these tips or strategies or again, well, techniques you are likely to use in your teaching? It would be really good to know. So which of the techniques that Ben has presented, well, you are going to apply. As for me personally, well, I'm crazy about this readability. It's really nice tool to adjust any text, authentic text, to the level of your students. Rubrics.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
well,
readability is good. Rubrics are very good. There's some other stuff with readability. I'll make sure it's on the webpage. It's not there yet, but there's a dictionary that actually will attach itself to any text you upload, so that if there's any word in particular that might be challenging to students. Now, again, we don't want them to rely on this too much, but it becomes like an active dictionary that's available. And I forget what that's called, but that is actually available for us too. I'll make sure that's on the webpage.
active dictionary. Do you think that, well, Google Suite provides with this option if there is some unknown words, so it gives you the link to this or that dictionary?
Yeah. So to some extent, yes. The thing with so Google's good. Google often will give definitions that are either too complex or not necessarily in context, which is better than nothing. But I find this especially, I know we're not talking about Google Translate right now, but especially with Google Translate, sometimes I try to say something in Russian and it comes out completely wrong for that reason. So, yeah, but I think it's better than nothing, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be. Okay, you are very welcome to point this or that, well, strategy or technique on the feedback form, and well, Ben and other RELO team representatives, I'll provide this information to you later for your interest. Well, probably it will be helpful for you to suggest some other topics for us as well in future.
Great.
Yeah, fan fiction.
Great.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay,
yeah,
please, well, really follow the feedback form. Please don't, well, leave it for a while. I'll strongly recommend to do it at once. It will take you a couple of minutes more. And then you are very welcome to join your dinner, because, well, the image of Bishbarmak was really seductive, whichever. Okay, thank you.
Azbolsa.